My fellow citizens of all nations, The Rational Male by Rollo Tomassi, Volume 2, The Preventive Medicine. Before we start this book summary, I want you to have this in your mind, because what we are going to talk about here will be for some people very controversial. So for some people, things that will make them very confused or possibly very angry. So, have this in your mind. There is a principle which is bar against all information, which is proof against all arguments, and which cannot fail to keep a man in everlasting ignorance. This principle is contempt prior to examination. Contempt prior to examination. So, have this thing in your mind, and I've took the detailed notes of this work, and let's go through it. Let's do it. Alpha fucks and beta bucks. In other words, the same thing said in other words would be alpha seed and beta needs. There is difference between those two things. Alpha seed and beta needs. The most secure monogamous attachments women will make are with men they perceive to be 1 to 2 points above what she perceives in her own relative SMV. SMV, sexual marketplace value. For a woman, the biological jackpot is to secure a commitment of a genetics and resources from a mate who registers higher than herself in SMV evaluation. The phrase that you have to internalize: the hypergamy doesn't care. And we will understand, listening to this conversation, what hypergamy is exactly. And funny enough, it will be explained by one of the most famous women out there today. Now, the girlfriend you expected to build a Disney story life with will break up with you as her options expand and yours constrict, due to prioritizing her goals above your own. Where boys fight in the physical realm, girls fight in the psychological. Now, this tends to be so most of the time. Circumstances you've confronted with today will drastically change in less than a decade. It will. We're talking about sexual marketplace, generally. Do the right thing. Idealism you think will be reciprocally appreciated by a girl or a young woman is part of a feminine primary condition you've been raised in. And here, the Rollo brings the candy store example. And think about this way. Let's say you've been allowed to a candy store first time, and there are delicious candies out there. And this is the period, by the way, when a woman is on her party years. This is the party years go from 20 to 27, around that period, when woman has a party years. And you will understand what party years is exactly. So now, but let's focus on this example. You are allowed in this candy store, and there are beautiful candies out there. These candies are delicious. You will taste the first one. Would you stop? Would you stop the first one? Would not you taste all of them when you can taste them? And have in mind that this book is about Western culture. Now think about it. This is the period of a woman's life when she no longer needs to restrain her hypergamy. Where there is no restrictions already. Every social restriction she could possibly have is already destroyed. In fact, the opposite. She's motivated to do opposite, to taste all those candies, to explore, to live. Now, and put this in perspective. I had the Bushido. I reviewed the Bushido on this channel. I've criticized something as well, and there was this part in Bushido about this is an ancient traditional Japanese country, by the way, during that era, where affairs still happened. And Yamamoto Tsunemote mentioned a couple affair cases in his book. Basically, that was a time where affairs meant, not only in Japanese culture but generally on the planet, where affairs meant a death. Like, that's what the consequence. You would be stoned, and there are some parts of the world you will still be stoned for that kind of things, as a woman. Now, this is the time where you're almost like people clap for you. for doing that. Like there is not like nobody is surprised by that. Like you're sexually free right now. You have this sexual freedom given to you. There are no real consequences for doing whatever you want, not restraining yourself. And now put this to perspectives. The affairs, there is something wrong with men and women generally in this case, because the affairs used to happen a lot when the consequences of that was horrible for men and women as well during that type of period, Japanese era, etc. Or other men could have simply killed you, and he wouldn't even be punished for that, justified because you slept with his wife, so he justifiably killed you for that. So these things changed for males. That restraint changed for males as well, but obviously for females as well. And put these things in perspective. During that time, the affairs, etc., happened. Still used to happen. This happens in every part of the world still. Now imagine in this case when there is no consequences for that, for neither party, but especially for females, because they were really restrained in that case. Because it is the West. This is a feminine primary social order society right now. Can you imagine what we are talking about here right now? This is fascinating, by the way. I'm fascinated by this thing. It's very, very interesting. Now, Epiphany refers to basically it's age period. It refers to around basically 27 to 30. This is the age gap. So this is the age we refer here. This is the most common phase, basically in this age period, in which a man will be asked, "Where is this going?" from a woman, or is delivered an ultimatum of withdrawal of intimacy, no more sex, or threat of breakup, if no marriage proposal is forthcoming in the foreseeable future. Why? Because she knows that her SMV is going down already at that age. She far across her peak and her SMV going down. Also, she won't be fertile for that long if she waits. So she needs to secure a male. So that's why they will ask you that thing in that period more. Because they have to do it. They have to secure this thing. Because this is ingrained in their genetics. Bear in mind that security for a woman is not always manifested as financial provisioning, but can assume the form of emotional investment, parental investment, physical security, and most importantly, fulfilling a psychological need for a masculine role of stability, dominance, and direction in her life. Now, is he really the best I could do? This is the question women will ask themselves, or secretly ask. Is he really the best I could do? And if answer is no, she will give it a shot. She will end that relationship with that faithful beta loser and will try to get the higher SMV man. She will risk it all. Now, for our gender's sexual strategy has to succeed, the other gender must compromise or abandon its own. This is the crucial part here, by the way. It's not the equal thing. It's not works that way. For one gender's sexual strategy to succeed, the other gender must compromise or abandon its own. This is the key thing here. Because look at this thing from men's perspective. From a biological perspective, men's sexual imperative is of ultimated access to ultimated sexual availability. This is the thing for male, for example, male strategy. The ultimate male strategy. Now, the thing is as well that man wants to get her best. And that's why, like, when we will return to things sure soon, like we men want to get her best. We want men to get her best sex. Basically, all men want a slut. They just want her to be his slut. This is a male ingrained thing. And while women's dualistic strategy on beta men's mindset, basically women have this kind of strategy, dualistic strategy toward men's, and we are going to read essentially how a woman, the most famous woman, one of the most famous women, actually will say the same thing herself. What essentially red pill society tries to claim, the woman says it herself, without even having a clue what she's saying. True desire cannot be negotiated. This is something. You need to fix this about yourself if we are going to be together. This is already a negotiation, and true desire cannot be negotiated. This is the iron rule. It's simply to trust. Like, sex is something that just happens. And we are going to do the funny thing about this as well. Yeah, men have expectation of receiving women's sexual best in marriage, which I've already mentioned. She knows that sex with her beta lacks the intensity and urgency of her prior lovers, but she falls back on her epiphany phase, self-convinced rationalizations that she's doing it for the right reasons this time. The right reasons being, of course, getting pregnant to further consolidate long-term provisioning. He was told he does not deserve a great girl like her, and he still believes it. This is... You are the prize, man. You are the prize, and this belief entirely has to be thrown in the garbage can. Now, this is a Briffault's law, which I'm going to read for you. The female, not the male, determines all the condition of the animal family. Where the female can derive no benefits from association with the male, no such association takes place. The females are the ones that have true power in animal family. They decide condition of that animal family. This is the thing. We are getting into this red pill more and more right now. Nearly 2/3 of previously married men expressed a desire to remarry. Less than half of previously married women had the same desire. Basically, this is a certain study he mentions in the book. I think most of the time the numbers will be higher than that. And men take a breakup a lot more hard way than women do. Basically, meet a better partner, etc. Like, men are thrown into depression and bad things. We cannot, which is much more harder for us to get over that thing. Most of the time, not always. Now, this thing can have exception. He was, because, as mentioned, like most half of the women had the same desire. He was never much of a man. Part of her she just could never share with him. Basically, she never had a respect for that beta. But this is the old woman's, the old order life. But now it's changed. Now, this is one of those things that many men are terrified of living life of lonely old men. Basically, this is the end of life issues. Oh, if you don't want to have a spouse, and if you don't want to get married and a wife and children, you are going to die the all alone life. Truth is that most likely you will die alone. You may die accidentally while you sleep in your hospital. You may, who cares that? You may die in so many ways. Death is always near. That's the thing. But most of the times, the thing you have in your image, like your relatives around you, they hold your hand and love you, etc. No, that's not true. That's a delusion that's given to you. Nobody will take care of you. That's a delusion you have in your head. That's a delusion you have put. You have put that in yourself, essentially. That, oh, you need that thing, etc. Like, most realistic thing in Western culture, if you live in Western culture, is that you will end up in a hospital, where you most likely will die during night period when there is nobody and you will be completely alone. And who gives this thing that who cares that thing? Everybody dies alone. Every single one of us. We are born and we die alone as well. We die alone. That's the thing. And the general fear of death is a very well known thing to be used against mankind and humankind in general. Like religions and etc. do this thing, the fear of death, which is ingrained in many things used generally. We have innate fear of death, and it is perfectly normal. But wake up from your dreams. Wake up from your dreams. Women are utterly incapable of loving a man in the way that a man expects to be loved. Basically, love for love's sake, idealistic love, is a man thing, not a woman thing. Loving a man from a position of opportunism. Opportunistic approach to love, this is a woman's case. Women have opportunistic approach to love. The love for love's sake is the man's thing. Women have opportunistic approach to love. Romance is not created. Romance just happens. For every carefully pre-planned date night, listen, before I read this thing, at this point, if you are feel bad, like you cannot handle this knowledge you are getting in. Understand this is what I'm moving on right now is even more hardcore. So, make your own decision yourself. Social stay, let's continue. For every carefully, and this is brutally true, for every carefully pre-planned date night after marriage, there is a college girl swooning to bang her boyfriend living in a shithole, sheets over the windows, furniture from the dumpster, pounding shitty beer and sleeping on a soiled mattress on the floor. How true this thing is. Like, you cannot realize how true this thing is. This is a brutal truth. And I've seen even cases of them where like females would drive 200 miles, they would pay for the hotel, etc. for the guy they found attractive. And this thing seems unbelievable. And men, even if you were to tell the men that story that really happened, the average male will be like, no, that's you're lying. That's delusion. Average man cannot take, neither average man can take this thing as a reality right now. The blue-pilled beta will never be able to understand this thing, what I read right now. This is something you have to at least experience or see kind of firsthand or secondhand from your friend or etc. You have to realize this thing, or you have to have some experience to realize this thing, that this is in fact true. Because this is part-year period from 20 around there to 27, 26. Woman's hypergamic-based love always considers what he is before she invests herself in who he is. Happily ever after. Yeah, sure. Better. This mindset is so wrong. Men are the romantics pretending to be realists, and women vice versa. Love for love's sake, it's a main thing. Men are the romantics pretending to be realists, and women vice versa. This is true. And this is true. Women are much more advanced in their mind. Like, they are so much more advanced, like, compared to men. Like, they exactly know. Like, there is obviously the thing that they look at that things not the same way as men we do. We don't look at these things the same way. Women are much more advanced in that thing, and they have totally different perspective. And I remember when I read the wall one, basically, which I have on the channel, the summary of the book, I was sharing some principle with a photo model, very attractive girl, and I mentioned some principle, and she was like, she looked at me and told me that as if that thing was common sense what I was telling her, and she's like, yeah, it's not that obvious, and I'm like, no, it is not. So many men out there that could not understand that thing. But you'll really find honest types that will be like that way. Now let's continue. Women can handle making more money in a relationship, but they despise being the leader in a relationship. Basically, when men cannot make basic decisions at all, like, women despise that thing. Truly, they truly don't like. Okay, for example, this thing can be like, do you want coffee or tea? And the man is like, I want tea. No. I want coffee. No, I don't want, no. Whatever. Like, this is infuriating, generally, and especially for a woman. Like, not be able to make a decision. Or, okay, let's go there. No, like, or you choose where to go. No, when male is incapable of those kind of things. This is truly infuriating. And not attractive thing. People resort to denial when recognizing that the truth would destroy something they hold dear. This is just the common knowledge in psychology. For a woman, respect is thought to be a presumed given, not earned as it must be among boys. The savior schema, basically. Behavior is only true determinant of motivation. Through the mid-80s and up to now, the idea of anything positively masculine is either ridiculed, cast as misogynistic, or implies a man might be gay if he is too celebratory of his maleness. And finally, the part I mentioned, Sheryl Sandberg. Thank you for saying this thing. Let me read it. When looking for this is Sheryl Sandberg's advice, by the way. When looking for two younger women. When looking for a life partner, my advice to women is date all of them. the bad boys, the cool boys, the commitment phobic boys, the crazy boys, but do not marry them. The things that make the bad boys sexy do not make them good husbands. When it comes time to settle down, find someone who wants an equal partner. Someone who thinks women should be smart, opinionated, and ambitious. Someone who values fairness and expects, or even better, wants to do his share in the home. Those men exist, and trust me, over time, nothing is sexier. The last part is so forced, by the way, here. Trust me. Nothing is sexier. Over time, it's like over time, nothing is sexier. You can literally analyze this quote and what it means. This is hypergamy. Like, a really funny way, like the most famous, one of the most successful and famous women, she says what is hypergamy herself. What so-called red pill men try to tell men, and fiercely get rejected in school by saying, like, the woman says it herself. What hypergamy is. So here is it. Here is what hypergamy is basically. She literally says her do these things in party years. That what makes them this fun type of guy to have sex with. Basically to essentially give your best to that type of guys. How she summarizes here, the bad boys, the party guys, whatever, the crazy, commitment public, etc. Cool boys. Share your best sex with them, but marry this loser. And men care about the first part. And they want, men expect to get the best sexual experience. To get the best. Alpha men don't complain about sexual frequency. They simply move on to a new woman. Rejection is better than regret. You should experience more rejection as a man than any woman needs to or have to in life, in every endeavor almost. Like, it should be completely natural thing for you to get rejected. And you should never take, by the way, rejection personally. And you should get rejected a lot. Like, you should be trying it. Like, you should be, and it shouldn't ever be something like, oh, horrible. Like, because you have to remember, rejection is better than regret, and it is truly this way. And when you remember that story, you won't be like, something like what would be, because you tried it. Indifference, not revenge, speaks volume. Basically, you have to be indifferent toward rejection. For as long as you consider revenge, no matter how petty, you'll still be attached to them emotions of rejection. Basically, be indifferent toward rejection. Don't be like, oh, I have to prove something right now that because I've got rejected, etc. No, live your best life. Living well is the best revenge, but not for the purpose of revenge. You should live well, basically, not for this purpose of I want to revenge, etc. Like, this is waste of time. Like, live whatever the way you want, not that for the sake of looking your back and be like, show off to that people. Like, live the way you want, and have indifference attitude toward the rejection. It's part of life for as a man. You should be getting rejected a lot. This is what it is. And remember this thing, rejection is better than regret. I've got rejected, I genuinely don't know how many times I got rejected. Hundreds of, if not thousands of times. Especially when I was doing these clarity things. Rejection, like, everybody gets rejected. There is not a man on this planet that won't get rejected. But you like, rejection should be part of your life, essentially. And you should not even take it to your heart or something like that. You should be indifferent toward rejection. And by the way, here, like, revenge and etc., like, usually refers to different thing as well, like, which I want to kind of touch. This thing is that, like, coming to like crimes, and when men got outraged and they kill for that thing, for the one, or somebody slept with, etc. These things are just like, don't let temporary situations decide your entire life. Don't let temporary emotions decide your life. Like, it's not worth it. Whatever happened, happened. Keep living. The one night, etc. is complete nonsense, by the way. Like, when people, like, men behave extreme ways and I'll kill and stuff, or do some stupid things, they may even try to commit suicide for their love or whatever. So tragic. Those men don't have this knowledge, by the way. This is what we talked about and what we're talking about here. Okay. It's not worth it. The indifference, not revenge, speaks volume. Like, Living well, there is this cheesy saying, right? That living well is best revenge. That is the best revenge, living well, but not for the sake of that revenge, but because you deserve the best life. Because you are the man, and you are truly far more beautiful as a man. But we don't give that to ourselves. We usually undermine ourselves. Men undermine themselves. And this is common thing, or like common knowledge. We men undermine ourselves. Like, too much at this point. It does not get better. You get better. It doesn't get easier. You get better. It doesn't get better. You get stronger. The thing. It's a man's capacity to perform and to demonstrate, never explicate, higher value that genuinely motivates women to accommodate mutual needs in a relationship. Not communication or reasoning whether that same night lay or is 15 years marriage. Okay. Vulnerability is not game. Basically, men are taught to be emotional and cry and etc. Or reveal their too unnecessary stuff. Like, vulnerability is not a game, bro. Like, remember this thing. I don't know how to tell. No woman cares about that things. And neither they should, by the way. And neither anybody should. It's your problem. Deal with it. Like, to be too vulnerable to women, etc. Like, then they think by that they will... That's not a game, bro. Women should only ever be complement to a man's life. Never the focus of it. Women want a man who other men want to be and other women want to fuck. You can literally repeat this thing as many times as you want to remember it. Women want a man who other men want to be and other women want to fuck. This is simple as that. Now, women are dream killers, not because they have an agenda to be so, but because men will all too willingly sacrifice their ambitions for a steady supply of pussy and the responsibilities that women attach to this thing. Basically, men that will move to different city, change their entire life goals to accommodate that for that what you get from that pussy. Oh no, men are true romantics. That's the thing here. That's the thing that's going on there. No woman would do that most of the time. Now there may be some exception. For better or worse, personality shifts. Like there is this. If you have not seen a man for 3 days, observe very carefully, because something has changed about that man. If you have not seen a man for 3 days, observe very carefully. So just like in your case, in every human being's case, for the better or worse, personality shifts. Your personality will shift, mine will shift, etc. I had my etc. periods and stuff, and you will have as well, and I will have as well, etc. There is always additional knowledge. A man can know even when he possesses the highest level of knowledge. Basically, there's always something to learn. They'll know, even if you know the highest, there is still something. The learning never ends. This is the thing. This quote is great for general life as well. Midlife crisis for a man has different reasoning, basically. Midlife crisis in the main case is that when he reaches this, for let's say an age of, let's say when he's around 40, and man realizes that this, what we talk about here right now, hypergamy, what Sheryl reveals so bluntly and then directly to entire society and men. When men realizes this thing, they start to behave different way, and that's what usually called the midlife crisis. When they divorce their old wives, etc., they start to behave that way. They do whatever they want. They realize their true value, and there is nothing more attractive, nothing more sexier for the woman when the man that realizes his own value and behaves so as well. That's attractive. And you will see a lot of so from societies you will see a lot of shaming toward that type of behavior. Oh, the man, etc. Blah blah blah. Oh, he's not man enough. Stuff because this is a shaming tactic. The psychological warfare. Remember this thing? Women tend to behave that way. Psychological warfare. Now, men are pragmatics. Pragmatics basically, and women tend to operate from an emotional level, whereas men tend to operate from a deductive reasoning. Reasoning works between men much more better. And I think there is a duality principle for women as well. Like there's the women are truly interesting. Like how they actually, I appreciate. I genuinely like this part of the woman what we're talking about here. This this hypergamic nature. This is what like, drives society to like women are essentially the selectors. This is great thing. Like this all what we're talking about. Like don't like if you were to apply this knowledge and internalize this as a man as well, you have to internalize these things. When ignorance was the cause of your misery, it pays to remember why you educated yourself. And last thing, unlearned. Killing your inner beta. Kill that beta. Kill that inner beta. And I will end this thing with this way. With this saying. Most people lost in the wilds, they die of shame. Yeah, see? They die of shame. What did I do wrong? How could I have gotten myself into this? And so they sit there and they die. Because they did not do the one thing that would save their lives. And it's thinking. That's all, my friends. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe here on Untitled. See you.